Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We are continuing and embarking on this topic that speaks about building people in our churches. Building people in our churches. So I want to emphasize this, that we have emphasized that it is not possible for you as a pastor to develop people when you are not developed yourself. You cannot develop people and impart what you don't have. We've spoken about that yesterday. But today I want us to emphasize and speak about being a good model and an example. Which is a very important thing that helps you as a leader to be able to build the people. Being a good model and also being an example as a leader. So this is very, very important. And I must emphasize that the former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of all that Jesus began both to do and to teach. And that's the scripture in the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 1. It speaks about being able to lead as an example. It speaks about being able to become a role model of the people. Now, without being a role model, people cannot look up to you because people learn from the people that they think they can learn from. People learn from the people that they think that those people have something that they can learn from. And that's very important. So it is therefore very key that you understand that role modeling becomes very important. And we have seen in the Bible as well that people like Paul became role models of people like Timothy. And therefore, because Timothy have seen Paul as a role model, he was actually following every instruction that Paul was giving him. Now, if you want to develop people in your church, set up yourself into a place where you are a role model. You are an example, because when you are a role model and an example, you find that you are influential enough to speak in the lives of the people. You are able to develop them because they are able to be developed by you. They are ready actually to learn when they know that you are an example or a model of them. And that's very key, that as a leader, therefore, you must pursue to become a role model. You must actually be driven to become an example. And that's very key. And when you start to become a role model, you become somebody that is looked up to, somebody that everybody want to be associated to, so that everybody want to walk on his or have footsteps, because people want to follow somebody who's a role model to them. Now, truths are caught more than taught. And I must say this statement is very key, because you realize that if somebody want to become something, they don't actually rely on what you told them. They rely on watching how you walk, how you do things, and just the manner that you conduct yourself actually become more impactful actually than what you are saying to the people. And there are people that say, don't listen to what I'm saying, or don't look at how I live, but listen to what I'm saying. And I want to say the obvious thing is that automatically it is vice versa, because people look at how you conduct yourself more than what you're saying, because words are actually holding to nothing when the lifestyle is not actually confirming that. So therefore, people are listening to people that they've already seen, that these are walking the path that they are living. When you speak to people, then you speak to them on the premises of having shown them an example and being a leader that they can look up to. And therefore, when you speak, you become authentic to them, and they can therefore be empowered and be developed by you. Now, you cannot then rely on talking without showing the fruits. And that is why the Bible says you will see them by their fruits. In other words, you'll see them by their lifestyle, whether they are of me as Jesus, following me or not. Because you will see them by how they walk. You'll see them by how they behave and how they conduct themselves. You cannot hear them by what they say, because that may not be enough. And that's why we emphasize the fact that words are actually empty until lifestyle is backing those words. So therefore, it is very important then that truths are known to be caught, not known to be taught. So therefore, people catch the truth by seeing how you live. People catch the truth by seeing the example that you show than to be taught the truth. And that is something that is not done that way. Now remember that people will do what they see more than what they hear. And therefore, it is very important that we actually display something that they can look at and see and admire to be like, than to actually sit on talking and giving those empty words to people and think that we are developing them. People are developed basically by behavior and example. And that is why I always emphasize that as a church leader, you must be an example in nature than to speak to the people. You may tell the people and announce it that they must come to prayer meeting, but until you decide to set an example by being in the prayer meeting yourself, by being part of the prayer meeting yourself, you're not going to get anybody taught and following you, because people follow what they're seeing than what they hear. So that's very important. So as a pastor, if you want to develop people in your church, as a church leader, if you want to develop people in your church, set an example. If you want to drive the people to come early to church and be punctual, it's not going to be by talk. It's not going to be by you announcing the time of starting. It's going to be by you being there in time and much earlier. And then you will start seeing people following. This is just an obvious thing. Now, developing people, therefore, it is very important that we develop people by good model and by good example as well. And that is by acting what we say and not just talking what we don't act. And that's very, very important then as a leader to remember that. Now, as a pastor, what you do speaks louder than what you say. Very, very important that we emphasize that once more, that what you do speaks louder than what you say. And I'm sure you've realized that as a pastor, even in the community of the people that your church, local church is in, you might not be known, you might not know the people, but the people are watching from far in the community. On how do you then conduct yourself as a pastor in the vicinity and the community? And that is why some of the churches are just not growing. And you don't know why. It's because the community is watching from far to see if your members are behaving the way they're supposed to be behaving as a church. And some of the churches are empty purely because of lack of example from the members of the church in the community. Lack of example and model by the pastor of the community. So therefore, developing people in your church, it is always going to be by example. And that is why also in communities as well, as I'm saying, for you to start to see a lot of people coming to your church and your church growing in numbers, it is the example that you set and the example that your own members are setting in the community. How are they being viewed? How are they being seen? What example are they setting? And of course, what model are they setting up? That's very, very important. So to develop people, therefore, is not just a fallacy of saying, I will teach people, I'll talk on this, and so on. But it's more the example that you set in front of them, because people believe in what they see rather than what you say. And that is why what you do speaks louder than what you say. And therefore, that's becoming very, very important that we emphasize that. Your example will influence them permanently. And I must really say that the words can be forgotten. But the example that you set at all times to people, it will influence them permanently. And majority of the people are what they are because they've actually been influenced by people that they've watched over the time and they've seen them behaving. And that is why we become the product of people that we've modeled. And that is why I want to emphasize again that as a leader and as a church, you must develop people by example, setting a good example and becoming somebody who is a leader by what people can actually attest and say as well. Very, very important that we emphasize that. And I must really say that when you set an example as a leader, you're actually impacting the people permanently. And the people will forever remember you as well because of the example that you've set before them. And that is why we have seen, in general, majority of the people have become great because of what they've watched, and they become the model, or they become actually the picture of what they've modeled and the person that they followed their steps. You can actually say that this person has been modeling so and so because of their behavior, their mannerism, and how they do things as well because of the people that have walked before them. Now, as a leader, therefore, as a pastor, as a church leader, so please remember very well that modeling, becoming an example, becomes very key more than what you say. And that is the reason why why we would emphasize that at all times. I want to end up here today. Your host, Micornus, Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and be part of this great topic. This was part 2. Of course, we'll move on to part 3 tomorrow. And I want you to also remember that we're having social media platforms. Our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane, Facebook page, Church Governance Solutions. Like those pages. Make sure that you click notification buttons as well. You may be notified when we've posted material of this kind. But also don't forget our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you click notification button as well to it and become part of the great materials that we post. And of course, we have posted quite a lot of materials in the past that will be more appropriate for you to listen to. Choose the topics that you want to hear and please search our name there, Micornus Phokane, on that YouTube channel. You'll be able to know the materials that we posted there and be able to choose and use them in your church. Your church shall never be the same. And allow me to check out right here as your host once more, Micornus Phokane, the leader, the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Cheers for now.